Yes, it does. It always starts simultaneously playing on YouTube, so I have to stop it. Okay. Yes, it does. All right. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here and welcome. I am Elæ Moss, and I am the founder and the creative director of the Operating System, which is an arts organization with a publishing program dedicated to archive and access-driven programs and publications. And I'm so excited to be launching Ashna's chapbook tonight, The Relativity of Living Well, with these incredible guests. And so as we start, I wanted to just kind of go over some basics just for being in this Zoom space together. The first thing, which I did say earlier, but which I'll say again for folks who may have just come on screen, is that in terms of access this evening, we have live automated transcript CCs, which you can use on the bottom of your screen. And so if you'd like to turn those on, you can use the live transcript button. It should be at the bottom of your Zoom window in a small gray rectangle that says CC on it. There will be a full transcript available at the end of this. If you're interested in that, I can get it for you. And we will also have access texts available for some of the readers, and those will be provided in the chat as we work. I will also just quickly give a visual description of myself. I am Elæ. I am a white non-binary person. I am wearing green framed glasses that are sort of reflecting the blue light. I'm wearing a blue shirt and a black sort of round sweater. Behind me, there is the gender fill poster that says, "May we all continue a practice of refusal as a necessary form of resistance, survival, and refuge." A feeling for all of us, a mantra for all of us today. Also here is my cat, Ruby. And I am here in Lenape Hokig. I'm going to give a brief land acknowledgement for myself and the operating system. The OS and Liminal Lab is based in, and I, Elæ, live and work in Lenape Hokig, the unceded land of the Munsee, Lenape, and Canarsie peoples. We ask you to join us in acknowledging the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. We also acknowledge that many arts and educational institutions with which we work have been founded upon exclusions and erasures of many Indigenous peoples, including those on whose land the OS and Liminal Lab is based. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And this text is adapted from the land acknowledgements work of these folks. And so I'm going to put that in the chat right now. It's good work to be aware of. And if you're looking for organizational language, I would recommend it. Okay, so we're going to have a really lovely evening tonight. We're trying to keep it, relatively short, even though we have so many readers, because we want to be respectful to everybody's spoons. And so anyone who wants to go off camera or lie down or be comfortable, do whatever you need to do tonight, readers included. And so we will be starting this evening with Leigh Sugar, who is a Michigan-born, Brooklyn-based chronically ill artist. She holds an MFA from NYU, where she studied on fellowship and has taught at CUNY's Institute for Justice and Opportunity, NYU, Hugo House, the Justice Arts Coalition, and various prisons in Michigan. Leigh's poems are forthcoming or appear in Poetry, Split This Rock, Jubilat, and more. She edited the forthcoming anthology, That's a Pretty Thing to Call It, Prose and Poetry by Artists Working in Carceral Institutions, and is currently working on her manuscript, Freeland, which was a finalist for the 2021 Alice James Book Award. Find her at leigh.sugar.com and on Instagram at leigh.sugar. And I will put those links in the chat for folks who want to follow these really wonderful readers tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to Leigh, and I will also give the link to Leigh's text in the chat. Without further ado, Leigh.
Hi, Eli. Thank you for the intro. Nice to see everyone here gathered for Ashna's beautiful release. I'm preaching to the choir when I say we're really lucky to be here witnessing this moment. Image description, one thing at a time. I'm a white woman with brown hair pulled back. I'm wearing sort of a white half turtleneck, half sleeve top with a cream colored jumpsuit and a necklace. Behind me is mostly bare white walls with a bit of a gold lamp showing. My dog may or may not appear, and she is a little white and brown puppy. As Eli said, I'm coming in from Lenape land, and I will read time pending 2 or 3 pieces. We'll see how it's going. So I'm going to open up with a piece called Bed Rest, Cerebrospinal Fluid Leak, Brooklyn, January 2021. And I'm really honored to be in this group in particular as a bunch of people who identify as chronically ill and or disabled, and the intersection of that with this COVID epidemic ongoing moment. So this piece is very much in line with this conversation. Bed rest, cerebrospinal fluid leak, Brooklyn, January 2021. The top window is clean and frames a barren tree affront a blue sky. I reread old love poems I wrote to a man imprisoned across the country. My new walker stands collapsed, narrowed at the seat, unused. Beyond the bed, the brick wall with the ornamental fireplace. The 6th Harry Potter stacked atop Watts's The Nazi Seizure of Power. Last week, Confederate flags and swastikas in the Capitol. The bottom window blurred by inaccessible city residue. A painting. The cat draws its self-portrait as a lion. The ER doctor says, "I'm sorry," after, "I'm just a cog in the wheel," after, "We can't help you here." Does the word terrorist strengthen the argument against the coup or strengthen the coup's arguments? Snack wrappers, pill bottles, masks, straws strewn across tables lining the bed. There is a mirror and 3 lamps and no overhead light. Error, typed light as Lee. The mirror stands beyond the bed's periphery, reflects the wall. It's okay to be sad, encourage elders. The heating pad is expensive and it works. I use straws so I don't tilt my head back when I drink. Save the window showing daytime. It is dark, how I want it. The police at the coup stood back, stood still. The Confederate flag and the swastika and the boots on the desk. The silence and the "I'm sorry" and the "we can't help you here." Error, typed here as here, H-E-A-R. The error of the here, the light, the self-portrait. The error of the mirror and the still and the storm. The error blurred, strewn, cooed. The bottom window water streaked, caked in city residue. The top window is clean and frames a barren tree affront a blue sky. And I have one more poem that I'll sandwich with a very short, much lighter poem. I went through, I was looking at Craigslist missed connections during the heat of COVID. I needed something, I guess. And was making some found poem sonnets out of those. So here's one of those, missed connection sonnet. Homebound, mostly strangers, are like city bike fantasies and slim secrets. Not anything serious, but you could be my beginning. I could begin by saying the end is a young branch emptying her leaves, leaning. That is, leaving is an education in chess, imaginary risk, and I miss you until we play again. Honestly, it's never over. God blessed us with bowling alleys and bodies and BJs. Please be serious. Well, I'm not serious, but you have to show up. I'll show up with licorice strings if you linger a while longer. If you show me the end of summer, then, well, who knows? Normalcy is more alone now than before. I miss subway platforms and lips. And then I will finish off with a poem tentatively titled Birthday After the Psych Ward. That's my dog. Can you grab her? I think I've written the last poem of my book, which doesn't yet exist. The book, not the poem, which exists, I swear to you. It's about longing, the poem, and its tricks. This morning, my roommate Nola got me a biscuit from the place I like, brown butter, and now she is in this poem. See how easy it is to get in a poem? All you need is to gift me a biscuit and have a name that is also a city. This year, no friends can come to my party because of COVID, which if you are reading this in 40 years, which is the plan, you might not know what that is, or you know because it's happened again and again and again and again and again. I lost my wallet today. Today's to-do list is find my wallet, cut my nails, get pretty, make a salad, fuck. Okay, I found my wallet, she said. You write your world how you want it. She cut her nails with trembling hands. Did you know you can become an I, or a they, or a he, or a she? In just one line, one word even, you can be anyone, I can be anyone, a relief to step outside and look. That body's not a body. When I was a boy, said Frank, I stepped into the sky and I was a boy, said Frank, not a surrealist. Part of the dream is that you accept your waking life as part of the dream. You don't need to get too sad. You can anyways become Frank or a girl or I. So the biscuit, I'm saving that for tomorrow. You can come too, you're invited. We will have a party, a virtual party. We are all a little sad. Okay, a lot sad. All of my friends who can are trying to fight fascism, and those who can't are trying. Never again is now, is what we're saying. To be white is to get to write this. Not enough nouns here. Where do the flowers go? The bouquet from the farm, the dirt, the man, the we, the I. Now that I'm 30, the kids are asking, what do we do? Now that never again is now. Grab the nouns, I say, the biscuit, I say, the salad, the fingernail, the flower, the farm, the dirt. If fuck were a noun, I'd say grab that too. The moon we all can see, grab it the all can see, the hopeful all. Find all the nouns you love and hold them. Hold all the nouns you love. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leigh. I think it's so strange to speak and perform into a void. And so if people want to turn on their, audio for a minute and give a little shout, a little applause, I always think that's very nice. So we can woo for Leigh.
Yay, thank you.
That was beautiful.
Beautiful, thank you.
That was great, Leigh, thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna have Angela. I'm gonna spotlight Angela for everybody. There you are. Okay. Angela Hume is a poet and writer. Her full-length books of poetry include Middle Time from Omnidawn in 2016 and Interventions for Women, also from Omnidawn in 2021. And she is co-editor of the book Eco-Poetics, Essays in the Field in 2018. Angela is currently at work on a nonfiction book about radical abortion defense and reproductive justice activism, titled Deep Care, a story of the Bay Area self-help movement from the wonderful AK Press. Yes. Thank you, Angela.
Hi. Thank you, Ashna and Elæ, for including me in this celebration of Ashna's The Relativity of Living Well. It's great to see you, Ashna, and to see others of you for the first time in this Zoom room. I'm so happy to get to read with Leigh, Heidi, Kay, and of course, Ashna. Thank you, everyone in the Zoom room tonight, for being here. My name is Angela, and I'm joining you from Oakland on a lonely land. For my image description, I'm a 40-something-year-old white person with very short blonde hair and honey-framed glasses. And behind me is my poetry bookshelf. I'm going to read some selections from a longer poem of mine called Meat Habitats, which was originally published as this lovely chapbook by Double Cross Press. They might even still have a few copies of it for sale. And the full poem is also included in my new book of poetry, which is called Interventions for Women. And the title was inspired by a project of a sustainable architecture research group called Terraform. I think they might be in Brooklyn. And the project was called In Vitro Meat Habitat. And I wrote the poem from 2017 to 2019 after moving back to the Midwest, which is where I grew up. And Trump had been elected, and all the Weinstein and Kavanaugh stuff had happened. And I'd started to get sick all of the time. So I wanted to write about that. And I'll note that some of the language in the book in the poem is taken from Terraform's description of the in vitro meat habitat, which actually appears on the cover of my book. And also some language from some reports, one about health effects of the 2016 election, and some others about dairy and whey protein markets. Meat habitats. There's an epigraph. A maltreated animal can be born by no one except almost everyone. That's Evelyn Riley. Flattened cells, a tight weave, clutch the organism, form a protein envelope, self-regulating environment, more or less stable victory in the unlikely history of something and not nothing. We go out, invade plant and animal cellular structures, restrict water flow, assemble, harm, pathologize, need, things we never should. And relationships feel increasingly unmanageable, and power wants into the hollow. Distinct nuclei, clot bean-sized behind the eyes, controls hunger, thirst, attachment behaviors, emotions, memory. Congealed holds vertebrates captive, circadian, triggers death events in 3x5 centimeter pyramidal, semilunar, or crescent-shaped fat capsules. Below the diaphragm from cholesterol, the body makes steroid hormones that rush the heart, arms, legs, turn blood thick and sweet. It's dealing with an emergency. Long-term activation linked to digestive problems, headaches, heart disease, sleep problems, weight gain, memory and concentration impairment. What do I know about the inside of your body? After the election, the hate site said, we want them to feel that everything around them is against them, and we want them to be afraid. Concerns about the possibility of sudden deportation, forced separation, linked to increased symptoms of anxiety and depression. Increased incidence of harassment, hateful intimidation, most commonly reported at K-12 schools. Full stop. October orange in the artery, congested river, way in the tanker trucks, along the bald interstate exit, ethanol corridor. Are you fuel flexible? If you like, fill up on corn. A place will make you sick and young. The proposal. Fabrication of 3D printed extruded pig cells to form real organic dwellings, a victimless shelter. Are you getting enough globular protein mixture? projected to reach a value over 75,000 million? Are you getting enough byproduct separated from the fatty coagulation, a value added whey pool driven by positive consumer perception, giving a sweet milky taste to your preparations? And I see violence everywhere, a fraction of the size of a human hair. I see violence on your nails, wrists, teeth, and gums. A place will make you white and sure. In dreams, violence is ridiculous. A hook shock in the cortisol night, sign over a door in riotous green neon, blinked freedom. Woke up to the stun of a body intact. You thought your body was your own, but a body is not a boundary. A door is not a dam. No sentient being was harmed in laboratory growth of the skin. I worry so much about you. I worry you won't get enough air, that you'll run into the streets, fuck someone unkind, suffer, searched. I worry so much about you. First return. I am so worried about you. Are you okay? You scared me. What is it with women who constantly say this type of stuff? An ultra-processed elixir requiring no health authority figure. Sodium benzoate, preservative to kill yeasts, bacteria, fungi, recycled PET plastic scaffold, suitable for both food and feed. At $15 per hundredweight, the system incentivizes farmers to produce more and more milk. Overproduction weighs, causing some to sell or slaughter to make herds smaller. Some process manure in tanks called digesters, turn methane to power. Confusion, disorientation, difficulty experiencing feelings, the feeling that one should forget. What does it mean to experience feelings? What does it mean to forget? He said, there is a drain, find it. You thought you could peer out from the safety of your private electric pulp, idea-like, memory-like, picture-like, or song-like. Fears include running out of money, running out of water, losing someone you love more than you love yourself. The concept model consists of very expensive fitted cured pork or articulated swine leather with an extensive shelf life, a non-perishable 11 by 3.7 inch prototype. I would like for you to say to me, help me understand how not to become someone who protects someone who has hurt you. It's beautiful, she wrote, with parts I can relate to. People everywhere are sick, and I'm not writing poems. I'm barely moving at all. Will we, as we have, refuse sober consideration, civil discourse, proportion, diagnoses, and cures? Will we demand disobedience, speak from the raw center of a wound, lock eyes with a friend's across the room to form a spine when the room can't hold you? Love is a chord, and all love is political. Thank you.
Yay. Yes, our invitation for applause and hoop. Woo. Beautiful, Angela. Thank you so much. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna have Heidi, and let me pull Heidi up here for everybody. There we are, gorgeous. Okay. So Heidi Andrea Restrepo Rhodes is a queer disabled Colombian Latinx poet, scholar, educator, and cultural worker. Her poetry collection, The Inheritance of Haunting, University of Notre Dame Press, won the 2018 Letras Latinas Andres Montoya Poetry Prize. She has been awarded poetry fellowships from Radar Cantamundo and the Yale Center for the Study of Race, Indigeneity, and Transnational Migration. Her poetry has been published in Poetry, Pomaday, Split This Rock's Quarry, Nat Brute, and Foglifter, among other places. Born in Arizona and raised in California, she currently lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you, Elæ. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for the invitation from you, Ashna, to participate in celebrating with you tonight. Congratulations. To give a visual description, I am a brown queer with long dark hair into braids and wearing a green sparkly sweater, and behind me are light green curtains. And I'm currently on Massachusetts land, otherwise known as Cambridge. Ashna is a dear friend of mine, and it was such an honor to be asked to write the foreword for this chapbook and to feel in that writing with Ashna's work some of the ways that poetry can deepen our intimacy and connection across distances, particularly through the isolations of chronic illness compounded by this pandemic. Reading The Relativity of Living Well let my own grief and rage find room to move through me. And that to me is one of the ways poetry is also medicine. I'm so proud of you, Ashna, and I love that your words are in the world in this way. And I can't wait to see what else you write. So I'm going to share two poems tonight. I thought I'd begin with a poem with an epigraph from one of the unsightly beggar ordinances, otherwise known as the Ugly Laws, many of which were on the books in the US up through the 1970s. These laws banned disabled bodies from public space so as not to offend the senses of the able-bodied. In the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, I feel that we are living, and some of us are not living, through the ongoingness of eugenics-based policies and social organization. And there are ways that the sentiments intrinsic to the Ugly Laws continue to inform the politics of space in which our disabled and sick bodies are pressed into isolation and or forced to continue to work at the pace of capitalism, so that the rest of the world can move on as if the pandemic were over and not have to think about those of us at higher risk with COVID exposure or its aftermath. So this poem draws on Susan Schweik's book, The Ugly Laws, Disability in Public, if anybody wants to look that up. And the line in the poem, "Conspicuous loafing is the hostile gesture of a tired working class," is part of a quote by Daniel Bell cited in that book. This is American Ugly. And the epigraph is from the Chicago City Code, 1881. Any person who is diseased, maimed, mutilated, or in any way deformed so as to be an unsightly or disgusting object, or an improper person to be allowed in or on the streets, highways, thoroughfares, or public places in the city, shall not therein or thereon expose himself to public view under the penalty of a fine of $1 for each offense, which I think in today's terms would be about $20. American Ugly. I visit myself time and again, an immense accumulation of spectacles. I voice myself, tinker, and again, an immediate acquittal of spenders. Call me a street obstruction. Call me a pile of bricks, a stress occurrence, a pilgrimage of brides disqualified, perfect wrecks, wretches of animal proportion. Sad sight, we miserable objects, raw materials, spatial dissidents, order on a loop, organ of lords. Every mythic city obliges this contract. Every mythic civilian obliges contraction, says, conspicuous loafing is the hostile gesture of a tired working class, ghoul of a ticking world claw. If I am curled up in pain, a collapsed anatomy, my blood a congregation of fatigues, bear it with me. Deny your repugnance and brisk parade, your well-heeled cure and cleanse. Having made a romance of war, having enchanted the factory, figments, rigid impositions. Ask, what disaster of history has left our bones crumbling for output, parallel revenues of slow death? I yield a velvet monstrous slang, a surplus of signs on every limb's absences, my coin slot mouth vomiting copper, menacing comfort. My furrowed brow a condition of study, far from nervous. A joyful pock, I, on the milky numbers, their happy slumbers of suburb fame. Isn't the sidewalk a pavement teacher unfolding her palm before your very eyes? Look at me, look. Thank you. This next piece is called A Small Disunified Theory. And if you're looking at the Access document, the italicized lines, as well as the title and various words and images, are sourced from or riffing on Leslie Jamison's 2014 essay, A Grand Unified Theory of Female Pain. We've gone pale all over, a capital drain through which forever is stripped of its ore. Manufactured selection reduced to fever, the fetish of radiant tragedies, handmaidens dressed in collateral adjectives. Aren't we rendered a menagerie? A diluted zoomorphic palette, our racked bodies, kittens and rabbits and sunsets and sordid red satin goddesses. The altar, a pedestaled cage, our hair feeds the fibrous needs of the heavens, queens of miserable. It says all this here in the doctor's script, his terrible cursive, patriarchy's bloat and interlock, exploit and cramp, we ailment and scorn. Barely assign these broken hearts, broken bones, broken lungs, caught in centuries of wound ever after of the world, its rhythms of subjugation. The body is simply an extension, a spasm of the wound, the world. The choral refrain of experts, it's all in our heads, in our heads, in our heads. The choral refrain of despots and hoarders of gain, of gatekeepers and too many men. It's all in our heads, in our heads, in our heads, in our heads. Let the body speak of its illnesses, its dispossessions, declare it's stolen. Let the body say it for you. A crown to heal testimony, inflammatory indeed. Summon the memory, the nebulous conditions of our devastation. Summon the acute and chronic aftermath, the throb and burn of aperture and rift. Drastic shapes call for what will be deemed drastic measures. From the outside, orchestral noise abounds. We know how to handle each other's blood, how to butter our bread. I learned the names of your mothers, you mine. Study the sounds of your dispossessions, the pace of your pulse under upheaval, laughter masking stiff tissue form. I, your, and you, mine. I, your, and you, mine. Our wounds, our bodies and their becomings, a fetal universe in lambent hungers. A snow early and long in the arms, but here we are, coruscating against invasion, vining our way up through it, a mess of aching limbs devoted to the light. Staggering, isn't it? How improbable we are. Thank you.
Wow, wow. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Heidi. Thank you. And now we're going to have Kay, who is also so kind to give us a beautiful blurb for the book. I'm going to spotlight Kay for you. There you are. So Kay Ulanday Barrett is a poet, essayist, cultural strategist, and an A+ napper. They are the winner of the 2022 Cy Twombly Award for Poetry, woo, by the Foundation of Contemporary Arts, and a recipient of a 2020 James Baldwin Fellowship at McDowell. I literally almost said James Beard, and I'm laughing because it's like a food fellowship. Their second book, More Than Organs, from Sibling Rivalry Press in 2020, received the 2021 Stonewall Honor Book Award by the Elæ American Library Association and is a 2021 Lambda Literary Award finalist. Their contributions are found in the New York Times, Academy of American Poets, Poetry Magazine, Nylon, Vogue, the Asian American Literary Review, The Rumpus, The Lily, and elsewhere. For more information, go online at kbarrett.net or at Brown Round Boy, which I will put in the chat. Thank you so much, Kay. So glad that you're here.
Thanks everybody for having me. Thank you, Ashna. Yes. Oh, that was my dog's ears flapping for you in celebration. Ashna, your work is pivotal. And I don't know how many of you'll know this, but Ashna was a co-host with me at the Asian American Writers Workshop, and I've workshopped with Ashna. And so I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and your shine and this moment in this reading and this chapbook, is for you. So just sending you love. All right, so I'm currently living on the unceded occupied land of Lenape, Hoking, and Munsee people in Rahway, New Jersey. ID for you, image description. I'm a brown, round, non-binary person with glasses. I wear a lilac hat due to COVID hair. My apologies. And a light blue hoodie. Behind me is a bookshelf and now my dog, as well as windows and plants. I'm reading all new work today, so there's no book for it as of yet. Here we are. This first poem is Artichoke, and it's very self-explanatory. It's about artichokes and the ways sometimes ugly things are still tender and beautiful. How one can be prickly tender, how to work, how to scrape, how to green, and yet on the inside, how to purple, how to majestic. Someone thought up the sharpest thing, to open the sharpest thing, rename it meal, flesh center barricaded by miscellaneous knives, whole life likely a dare. I too know how to breathe shield, what it is to be jagged, to be your own bouquet, confused for an ornament, wrap limbs into knotted, lonely, disowned coniferous, maybe to be steamed, to unhinge joints, to want to be believed, to be beloved, to be known for your buttery, to be raked of it, yes, to live honestly and be considered thistle. Beget a body noble, mistaken for a weed, ache to splay like firework, seen as extra, seen as too much work, blithely considered at dinner parties in Brooklyn to be an acquired taste and too fancy, or wait, how do you even eat that again? Shimmer silk from center, want nothing more than to be pride, than for someone to just dig in, to be brave or curious, to quest and to use all hands to spread limbs and not mind bold foliage, thin blade, skin draws blood when held too tightly. Wish for somebody to just say, this looks impossible, but what if? What if this could be my most favorite thing? Hope. Somewhere inside, there's blossom. Thank you so much. This next poem is Sick, Disabled, Queer Love. And it can be existential. It's not necessarily romantic or even poetic or sexual, but it's a poem called Sick for Sick. Their body patched, swollen skin, hair flecks gone rogue, mismatched knees, ache knits, quilt throughout, curvature, a soft thing. They said, if we hum close enough that our chests touch, shared breath comes from belly up, that is not platonic. Now, breathe same air, nostril kinetic, by way of brow cleft, pirouette of migraine, syllables twirl, temples strain. It's something to lull here, together. When nerves are ablaze, I'm told to be blankets, lay my torso on theirs, abdomen to abdomen, core to core. Is this what a field does to a hill? Spill it with poppies. I wait on their skill. How she will sigh. The human body is heating pad, limbs bonfire, flip sheets. You can't reverse sick today. Today we don't want to. Chest's pulse softest lake. Come spring. Come spring, we never do this again. There's only the memory of it. You know how their lungs cathedral, how I prayed there on the ledge of inhale, sternum sacred, coughed hymn, spasm luminescence, syllables stretched, muscled sacraments more than splay. Us, petals in overlap, us, an ampersand on fire. Thank you. I saw in chats, it says artichoke for artichoke. I just want you to know that is a great, great title. My last poem is for my most favorite ancestor, who is also a disabled person and a brown cane using person and grower and farmer. Again, thank you so much, Ashna. Thank you, all the other readers. So splendorous and bountiful root systems. For Yolanda Piso. I have this assignment to write on organs, and all I can think about is your rellenong talong at sunrise, garlic, thick hair, wisp of your floral dress sway on linoleum as you commit to careful chemistry of fried egg. And to say I have roots means all us kids knee deep in dirt, means I only know how to eat because you brought backyard, earth soaked, each bite caressed by sweat of forehead. This land gives us what we need, not like this country. Nah, we didn't get it then, you know, you training us for the end of times, or maybe bringing us back to our beginning. Bold brown knuckles turned into baon, lunchtime snacks folded of banana leaf to unwrap gift. Every noon, map illustrated of rice speckled in sea spinach, while other whites ate bland mashed potatoes, a spark of sile. Proclamation of patis. We held up sliced mangoes sculpted into bouquet. Every summer, you took small seed, hard stone, harsh light, profuse cackle, and grew it into momentum to fuel every star-speckled report card on that fridge. Every trophy shimmer slung over shoulder. Our last photo together. San Fabian, July 2007, 96-degree heat, palm tree silhouette on cheeks. You said, "Oi, you like my haircut, so pogi." Big smirks. Fingertips pressed on lychee skin, our version of prayer. Not to mention the way you taught me to pick apart until we found tender. How we knew somehow together there could be sweetness. You asked me to open every fruit, juice like sprinkler from our old house. This breaking apart, this delicate pouring, this bulbous bounty, this bellyful harvest was always ours, no matter the soil we stood on. Thank you so much, operating system, and thank you so much, Ashna.
Thank you, Kay. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Kay. New work. Woo.
Mm.
All right. Ooh, the main event. Ashna, so excited. This has been just such a long time coming, and we've had such a journey in bringing this book into being, and we both were going through so much of our own body journey together, and I'm just so, you came to the hospital with me, man. I mean, we have, you know, we've experienced this, and it's such an honor to be able to publish this for you, and to be here tonight bringing this into the world. I'm just so excited. Okay, I mean, you guys know Ashna, but I'm still gonna do the whole thing. Ashna Ali is a queer, agender, disabled, and diasporic Bangladeshi poet, writer, researcher, and educator raised in Italy and based in Brooklyn. They hold a PhD in comparative literature from the Graduate Center CUNY and have taught at a variety of colleges across New York City. Their poetry has been published in a variety of journals, including Nat Brut, Bone Bouquet, Breadcrumbs, Kajal Mag, and Sundog Lit, and their chapbook, as you might know, The Relativity of Living Well, it's out now from the operating system. AshnaAli.com and IG and Twitter at Dr. Dushtil. And they're just gonna blow you away. Let's go.
Thank you so much, Elæ. I could not be more grateful to have Elæ and the operating system on my side to produce this gorgeous little chap that I never thought would turn into this. So these, hold on, let's back all the way up. Visual description. I am a brown, agender, queer person with long-ish, wavy black hair, black eyeliner, and pink lipstick. I'm wearing a cream colored shirt, and behind me a couple pieces of artwork are visible on a wall with a curtain and a bed. At some point I may be joined and or interrupted by a Sphinx cat that is tubular and gray and loud, and his name is Kubo. I am usually based in Brooklyn, which is unceded Lenape land. Today, I am joining you from Newark, New Jersey, which is also unceded Munsee Lenape land. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy you are all here. I am so starstruck and in love with all of my readers and friends, and it is such a privilege and it just gives me a lot of joy to like bring a bunch of sick and disabled poets together in this moment when everyone is sitting around pretending like it's all over. So I really, really appreciate y'all joining me and us and blessing us with your brilliance. Those of you who are not aware of what this project is, in 2020, I survived those first few months by writing poems documenting my experience of long COVID as a public school teacher in New York City. As the poems progress through the piece, I get sicker and the world gets increasingly more tense. I feel like this is a poetic memoir that will remind us of the things we are desperate to forget about 2020. And I hope that it does that work effectively, because some of us, including so many here, are not ever going to be able to walk away from this moment unchanged. I'm particularly pleased to be reading with and for these readers because every single one of them, either through their work or through their relationships with me, and usually both, they have taught me how to live as a disabled person with dignity and grace and have access to joy. So thank you, all of you who read with me, and Elæ, who is hosting, because without you, this journey would have been impossible. I am going to start with an early poem in the chapbook called Infection. The first case of novel coronavirus in New York City was confirmed on March 1st, 2020. Mayor Bill de Blasio kept schools open through March 14th, 2020. By May 2020, 70 Department of Education employees died from COVID-19. More followed. On the subway, a Midtown suit wears a gas mask, bare hands protruding from cuffs. Scrounged surgical masks stretch across faces smudged with eyeliner, raw, nightmared. Unprotected, I move hair from my bare face with bare hands. Freeze, trap my breath, turn my music all the way up. The lopsided desk at the front of my classroom has been, for the first time, power washed of coffee stains, corn syrup, unidentified goo. My students sniff bleach trails on still old air, hold their notebooks in their laps. My favorite rubs my desk down with Clorox. Just in case, she says. New ways of saying we like each other, alive. I hold a thermos and a whiteboard marker, gesture as I move my mouth. The motions. I ask a question. They watch me touch the table, a chair, the whiteboard. No one raises their hand. Denial. If I hit the self-mute button, my wheezing is muffled even to me. The neighbor waves in the window, watches me cough into my fist. I'm fine, I mime, and bow my head to where the screen cannot see me. I was always a sickly child, and anyway, 'tis the season. My mouth fills with blood metal. Was sweat always so cold? Did late winter always sour my calves? No aroma or flavor rises, only temperature. But illness can look different as we age. Send us craving ice cream cold, make us hot for coffee, a side of clementine rind on the tongue for a bit of feeling. The doctor says, you are an ideal vessel. It prefers those it can depend on, communicate through, frigates to help proselytize elsewhere. You know this, he says. Didn't you spend years studying colonialism? Bargaining. A thermometer hangs from my lips, an irreverent tongue. On the news, nurses urge people not to shoot. They say there are no more beds for the wounded. In the land of bodies plenty, we slide into glut, run out of room for new refuse. This is not about me. I pad from room to room in flame-retardant pajamas. Balloon print meant to inspire dreams. American solutions. I remember this taste. As a child, I'd wander the house sucking on Duracell batteries. Light bulbs made a habit of unscrewing themselves and crashing as close to me as they could fall. They always missed. I am young, I say, lucky. I hang my head, measure my productivity at the end of each day, paid taxes, used to hold my friends at gunpoint, keep quiet when I can. Compliant behavior, a show of blood so that it might skip my house. But even I know that in this country, what does not catch first fire just burns more slowly, that nothing gets left behind. This next poem is called Power and is from the summer of 2020. All my friends are pretending not to suffer. I didn't mean to make this about the police, but what else? The names of the dead are now too crowded to fit onto a cardboard sign, front page, or letter. For every name I memorize are all the names I don't know. I know that one day a name will belong to our own, and suddenly, there it is. A beloved stays up all night posting about a trail of lynching the media won't cover. Cops take knees and names. Just this morning, I watched guards at Rikers Island laugh at Leilene Extravaganza Polanco before they let her seize to death. Only then did a guard become ill herself, retching, bent over, death rendered real even in the bowels of hell. Did Leilene soldier a hard face, or did she say, "Hi, hello, I am human"? Where Leilene Extravaganza Polanco lay, did they allow her to collage the walls with her people like we do bathroom doors at every queer bar so that our archives watch us as we care for our sinews' mundane magic, parts that pump hard, precarious, that so often fail without love? A death of despair is death from a world too long unbearable. We keep dying, but not dying out. I am supposed to celebrate because pride was a riot, but my mouth has never been good at holding sour with sweet. Just this morning, I stood with 15,000 people in front of the Brooklyn Museum for Black trans lives, and then went back to work with voices shouting "power," ringing a bell in my brain. Am I not allowed to cry no matter how closely the lives we live rub together? No matter how obvious that we are only just alive? Have we learned yet the difference between fireworks and gunshots? Grief catalog. After, we say, but there is no after for months. There still isn't. Cosmic as a dimension establishes itself in the lexicon as if we have always lived with God. Disallowed despondency dresses as qualified time, a tough day, a long year. Etymology of grief, Old French from grever, a verb, afflict, burden, oppress. A word that describes something done to another, but the subject of the sentence somehow always disappears, leaving only the aggrieved, evaporated action. Futurity recircuits as concept through welcome meme honesty. Grief, too, is an ecology. How damage daisy chains itself across the day. If feeling particularly florid or safe, I may sweep the air with a hand to mean survey the obvious. Everyone always nods, but we do not say the words regardless. Jurisdiction tapped back and forth between men huffing and puffing until futility recruits as lifestyle through unwelcome meme reality. Inspires Kalashnikov aspirations, sometimes. Love remembers me sometimes, too, at moments. Muted mic, dark camera. If no one is there to witness productivity, do we still make a sound? Needlessness is the heart of devouring, I learn. Time's slow rendering into fat. Ontological oblivions. My face grows into palimpsest, cruel optimisms peeking beneath undoing's new shape. Quarrels with strangers for something like remembrance or strategy or solidarity or resistance, even when still. Swindle and assessment refuse acknowledgement of one another as kin. Bottom lines. Talismans made from word fragments left in the chat box from someone with whom I cannot meet eyes. Under the guise of normalcy, under the boot of, under the thumb of, underpaid, undervalued, underling, understood, underground, underway. Virulent, vex, voracious, in vortex vascular, all over my body, all over my body, all over my body. A language now. Wanderlust, remember? Ambition, the sky as boundless metaphor. Instead, zero sees as possible symptom, nausea, possible symptom, insomnia, possible symptom, migraine, limb-wide ache as web that teaches the skin. Yes, indeed, you are all a single organ stretched so thin, and you have no choice but to feel. This is the last poem in the chapbook, but not the last poem I'm going to read. I'm going to read one more that isn't in the chapbook, and this is called We Live on Love after Ilya Kaminsky. We live on love, even when scorched and delirious, nights garbled with sweat. We brew each other's tea, muster the strength to stand just long enough to make soup. It passes. We swaddle our hands in surgical gloves, clothe our faces in masks, just to weigh Parmesan in our palms at the grocery store, giddy with fresh prosciutto and lemon balm, even if the bread is all gone. While everyone writes of the slow death of not being touched, I chop herbs while you pick playlists to be fed to. Here, taste this. While everyone counts the days since they last touched flesh, I am slathered in kisses, pinches, praise. I regress until all I have to do is lift my chin to announce my pucker. I always get exactly what I want. We tent our heads and sip wine on our stoop, listening to the saxophonist playing into the mob sweep of evening alone. Everyone sickens, thinks about death. We stack our mortality against youth, debate the mystery of what lurks in our lungs. Even then, I tell you the truth. Everything else was always a hindrance to this living, this food, this living. The last poem that I'm going to read was recently published by Kay in Zoe Glossia, and it's called Top Secret Club Abjection, and it is a love letter to all of my chronically ill and disabled kin. Top Secret Club Abjection. It's H who starts me on the teas, delivers 4 fragrant boxes, mixes them herself. She includes ingredients on a handmade label. C, I find on Instagram talking about her herbalism practice, how she treats her own body. She makes videos about what my limbs need while she holds the baby, feeds the dog. I find N through P, who says, hey, I think N might have doctors who believe non-men when y'all talk. We make a list with reviews, a private Yelp for queer crips and kin. I find the NIPO Cuddle O through B, who uses it before bed to not ask too much of a massage therapist partner. I buy it as a gift for at least 3 of the club, recommend it to everyone who has enough money this month. We use it together on the phone, the buzzing and moaning from each of our homes, confusing, we hope, to whomever might be surveilling. When I start the new drug, 2 of the club tell me not to be surprised when I can't eat. when there's a zap between my ears, when joy feels just as far as rage, which combined feels like nothing. Though we live in different states, we coordinate days to say, fuck it, do whatever we like, have one glass of wine too many, eat everything. We cackle and cry to one another from wheelchair, bathtub, toilet seat, shower stool, somewhere on the floor. The club says plans are not plans unless we've measured capacity, found whatever honesty we have left between the sofa cushions. The club says, hey, I've got enough Valium for 2 today. The club isn't afraid of blood, vomit, piss, shit, pills, passing money around. Tomorrow we get up, clothe ourselves in health, a workplace costume, because everyone knows that everyone would rather be fooled. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now it's time for the big cheer. Yay, thank everybody so much. Yay, Kubo.
Have the baby for everyone. I know this is why everyone was here, actually. So let's give it to you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Ashna. That was so beautiful. And thank you, everybody. We're not officially going to do this, but if anybody like has questions or wants to, make a comment, anyone from the audience, any of the readers, I'm sure we would be happy to hear your thoughts or, yeah.
But can I ask Ashna a question? Actually, this is Leigh. I'm curious. I mean, throughout this process, there have been so many, oh, maybe we're out of the pandemic. Oh, nope, we're not. And I'm like curious how you look at your work and this chapbook, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but like mostly captures kind of that first really intense wave and like your experience of working through creating the chapbook, knowing that there's like, now knowing that there's so many more waves that the you that wrote the book didn't know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the way that I had to go back to work in person to teach. That's a job I no longer have now because I'm too disabled to do it. And there was no real acknowledgement of the fact that I was disabled by my job and therefore could no longer do the job, et cetera. But as I returned and took the subway and was in cafeterias with 250 students, most of which didn't have masks on because you eat in a closed cafeteria, et cetera, I realized that the only survival strategy in that situation is to allow yourself to be gaslit. And so there's this bizarre moment where I'm like, I know that y'all are lying. And I know you don't care if I die. And I know you have decided that I am dispensable. And for this moment, I have to mute that knowledge in order to live the minutes I have now. And that's all I got. So, I mean, even now, like there's a huge spike in Europe at the moment and we're all just like, it's all good. Woo. It's like, we're just, we're living in a period of rapid fire amnesia as political lifestyle. And I feel like the only way to survive is to sort of like either use whatever resources we have to hide or allow the gaslighting to live in the only ways they let us. This is a horribly hopeless answer. I'm so sorry. I wanted to say something so much nicer, but that's what I got. Thank you for your question, Leigh. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Leigh. And I think that was the answer that we needed, Anyone else have some closing thoughts or just general extra cheering for Ashna and these great readers? cheering.
Thank you so much.
I don't have a question, but I love you, Ashna. Congratulations. That's not a question. I'm not apologizing.
No more apologizing. Thanks, love. Thank you so much for joining me for this one, everyone. This is really special for me. And thank you, Elæ, again for everything.
Of course. And tell them what they've won. What's going on next week?
Oh, that's right. Okay, so those of you who are based in New York City or Brooklyn or the Northeast, there is an in-person launch party taking place at Sisters Brooklyn on Wednesday, March 23rd from 6 to 8. It will be a wheelchair accessible space. Everyone will be required to be vaxxed and boosted. Everyone will be masked. They are taking all of the precautions that I have asked them for, and they've been really good about that. It is a Black-owned space. It's an immigrant-owned space, and they're really happy to support the arts. So if you are able to come on the 23rd, I would love to see you there. The details for the other readers, etc., are on my Instagram at Dr. Dushtu. Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. I want to take another moment to thank my readers for gracing us. This was awesome.
Thank you, Ashna. Love you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ashna. Thank you, Elæ. Thank you, everyone.
You're beautiful, Ashna. Amazing. A++++++++. Many spoons. All the spoons bowing and celebrating you.
Thank you.